Hi, welcome, Colleen. I'm so excited to have Dr. Colleen Norris here today. Um, I'll let you introduce yourself in just a second. I'm Megan Morris Gerzon, host of Get Real and Own Person podcast. And today I have Colleen, a chiropractor and nervous system healer. And I'm really excited because I would consider you a friend, and I'm actually doing her work currently right now. And I sing your praises whenever I can to anyone I meet. So I'll let you introduce yourself, what you're excited to talk about today, and anything else you want to share.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, for inviting me to come on this space. And also, I am just thoroughly enjoying our work together and seeing things starting to shift and really change for you. So, I am Dr. Colleen Norris, and I've been working with people's nervous systems for over the past 20 years in different forms. The current technique that I mainly use right now is a chiropractic technique called network spinal. And what that is a light touch, no cracking technique where I'm helping the nervous system unwind patterns that have kept the body in some form of fight or flight, also known as survival, that really helps. The unwinding helps you to be able to reconnect with your body, with who you truly are beyond any patterns. And also, it allows you to connect with the part of your body that is what we call innate intelligence in chiropractic. It's your body's natural healing ability that gets blocked when you're in survival. So, really helping to reconnect with that intelligence so that your body can heal itself.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing because it's such a mind-body connection, which it was the perfect thing for me and what I've needed. And we actually I was happy to meet you at a networking event, and then I had you in the back of my mind, and I finally took the leap. And I had done chiropractic before. I've done forms of therapy, but listening to your body is what it comes down to. I think oftentimes people don't even realize that they've been in what you call survival mode, right? And today, our topic is from survival mode to self trust, which is a very important journey that I personally am on. And I think you can relate as well. So,
Awesome.
I would love to hear your perspective on, the phrase survival mode. What and you look at a lot of different people's, the way their body is in alignment, the way they're maybe twisted in different, and you check patterns as well. So what does that physically look like, and maybe emotionally as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, where I want to start, I'm just tuning in, like, where I want to start is when I'm looking at someone's posture. So, when someone comes into my office for the first time, part of the process is doing a posture assessment. So, I take photos from the front and from the side. Now, every single person has a unique way in which they're holding tension. I also have them step on a scale. So, one foot is on each scale because I like to see how is your body holding this tension. Some people, their body is holding like 20 more pounds on their right side because that's how their body has adapted to hold that tension for them.
Mm.
So it's really fascinating because we see the posture. So another thing that I see with posture is that forward head, like where the head and neck is coming forward, the shoulders are rounding forward. And yes, that absolutely can be related to we're on a computer all day, we're texting, we have all of these ways that constantly like bring our head and neck forward. And if our body is in any form of survival, that is also a way that the body naturally starts to go forward because it starts to protect the heart. So that's a posture of protection, and
Mhm.
we don't even realize. Again, these things are like we don't even realize. We just think this is common, this is normal, this is just how I am, but our bodies are constantly adapting to the messages that are being sent from our brain to our body and our body to our brain. And when we're in survival, those messages are influenced with um I'm in a some kind of threat. I've got to protect myself. I got to make sure that I don't get hurt. So I got to, like, it's like one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake. So it's like we're trying to move forward, but yet we're putting our foot on the brake without even realizing it.
Mhm. Yeah, and what you always say when we speak is to try to listen to your body because your body is sending you a message. It is responding to the state you're in. And it's funny because the typical person, like you said, doesn't connect those dots. It's actually very, very deep emotional work that you do, because that the body is just reacting to what you're holding in your body emotionally. And so when I first decided to check you out, I was having pretty bad lower back and hip pain. And, ever since working with you, we've definitely, lessened the physical pain and issues I was dealing with, but
Mhm.
it came from such an emotional place. And
Mhm.
so I want to kind of back up, and I think you've experienced this yourself, right? You've been in survival mode yourself, and you have moved into a more safe, self trusting place in yourself. So before you built this business and decided this was what you wanted to focus on, how did you get here? It was likely a bumpy road. I've heard bits and pieces,
Yes.
and please share what you're comfortable sharing now.
Yes, of course. I always like to say this, like, working with the nervous system and unwinding from survival mode is not just something I've learned in the book. I've lived it. I've lived it in
Yes.
many different iterations. I would say one of I'll touch on like the most impactful times. I would say the first time was in 2010 when I started getting severe anxiety and panic attacks that seemed to come out of nowhere. And long story short, what actually was happening, what was the root cause of those anxiety and panic attacks was that I was recovering memories of trauma from my childhood that I had totally shoved down. I had totally repressed it.
Wow.
So that was that panic and the anxiety was actually it was like unearthing these things that had been so deep inside of me that I wasn't even conscious of them. That was my original, like, and let me just tell you too, I didn't work for 4 months. I mean, I'm talking about, like, this was, like, significant. I was getting
Wow.
multiple panic attacks a day, and I found a medical doctor that also did, energy work and was intuitive, and so he started doing this energy work with me, and it was about 2 months after seeing him is when the memory started really resurfacing, and I was like, "Oh, this is what's happening." And that
Mm,
changed me, like, at the deepest foundation, that changed the course of my life because I then started on a path of, okay, I need to find out what I need to do to heal. Because I tell you what, like, it was not traditional chiropractic, right? I was having so many emotional symptoms, but physical symptoms too. And it
mhm,
set me off on this journey of learning all these different kinds of modalities that at the core, like, again, if we take it back to the core, when we're in some version of survival, we have placed our safety and our trust in something else outside of us, in another
mhm,
person, in an outcome, in a situation. And when my 18-year marriage ended in 2022, and everything that I had put safety and security in, my marriage, the house that I had lived in for 15 years, the business that we had started together 17 years before that, when that all just was gone in a matter of like a very short period of time, everything, it was like a dam had broke and
yeah,
all of the things that had again been underneath the surface just came raging to the surface. And I like in May of 2022, I was at the lowest point I've ever been in my life. I was having constant heart palpitations. Um, I wasn't working. There were days I couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't drive a car. I was in
yeah,
and out of my primary cares. I was and went to the ER a couple times, and I ended up landing in a voluntary crisis center in May of 2022 that really changed the course of my life. And there
yeah,
were 2 things that happened in there, and I'll just briefly, one of them was, and this was really profound because it was I was I after the first night I was in there, I woke up and I was in this massive panic, and I went into the nurse's office and I was like, I was, like, all worked up, and my blood pressure and my heart rate were through the roof, and she
Mm,
was like, "Okay, what's happening? Do we need to take you to the ER? Like, what?" You know, and I was just like, and I was just crying, and she, after we started talking, she just looked at me dead in the eye, and she said, "Colleen, you have gotta get your shit together. You've gotta face the things you've been running from.
yeah,
Medication, nothing is gonna save you. Nothing is gonna save you. You've gotta start facing the things you've been running from." And
yeah.
I was sitting there, and I was like, again, I'm sweating, and I'm like, my everything, I'm just, like, drenched in sweat, and it just like something, like, slapped awake in me.
Wow. It's so funny because just that sentence, "Get your shit together," that's what you needed in that moment more than anything.
100%.
Mhm.
And I feel like it was almost as if I feel like it was a divine intervention for me to go into that crisis center. That
Yeah.
I was actually, because to go into that crisis center, I had to fully surrender because I had tried so many different things. All of the traditional thing, or like all the things I had tried, nothing was even touching how much the anxiety and how intense I was feeling things. And
Mhm.
so I was just like, I don't know what else to do. And I remember calling a friend like the day before I went in, and I was just crying because I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore. I think I just got to go in there and just totally surrender. And that's what I did.
That was an incredible decision, and thank you for sharing, and I what you said is it comes to the point where you just have nothing else to do but surrender. That's sometimes the most important thing we can do, and
And
that's
that
just
was
such
so
a huge commitment.
scary
It's
because
scary.
right? Because I had my drug of choice, if you will, was control. I always
Yeah.
had to be in control.
Yep.
That was what I placed all most of my safety in, is if I'm
Yeah.
in control and I know what's happening, then I'm gonna be okay, but it
Yes.
was also killing me.
And, I believe that so many people, especially women, high functioning women who have so much on their plate, function at that capacity and say they're fine. Meanwhile, they have all of these subconscious generational trauma patterns within them.
Yes,
Um, and it's not until, maybe the physical symptoms or the anxiety or something starts to actually, rear its head that something has to change. And I
yes.
mean, I think a lot of people can relate to your story, and it's beautiful that you're sharing it so vulnerably and you're so
Right.
self-aware. And that's how I'm trying to be in my journey right now. Because, you know, I actually stayed in a crisis center. I'll say this openly here. When I was postpartum and extremely stressed with my breastfeeding journey and lack of sleep. And, it came to the point where I needed help. I needed to get rest. I needed to calm
Yes.
down. And so sometimes, there's no shame in that. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do for not only yourself, but your family, your loved ones. So I think it's beautiful when you have an experience like that that changes the trajectory of your life, and then you can change and move in a totally different path and come from a different place. Um, and so, you mentioned that oftentimes you don't even realize, for decades, you don't realize that you're holding on to that sense of control and safety. And so would
Yeah.
you say that's kind of like and another thing you mentioned is that, and I've done this, is you're looking out to external factors to
Yes.
find a sense of safety, a sense of purpose, whatever it is. And would you
Yes.
say that that's kind of like the leading cause of, people getting to the point where it's not sustainable?
Yeah, so here's my perspective and my belief, and I understand that this is not about everyone has their own set of beliefs, but I believe that life, like, we go through different experiences so that we can see the things that have been keeping us stuck if we choose. And so going through everything I went through, let's just say, like, with the divorce, I can really say that I really truly feel like all of that was happening for me because it was not sustainable for me to keep living that way, for me to keep constantly looking for approval outside of myself, constantly looking to control things. Like it was killing me. And so life was like, all right, she hasn't listened to this this little whisper. And so we're gonna make it really loud, you right?
Yep.
And so that's how I really, in hindsight, I really truly believe that it saved my life. I don't
Yeah.
know if I would still be here right now.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really it felt that, intense that the trajectory I was going down, life was like, "Colleen, you're not gonna be here much longer because how you're living your life is killing you."
Wow. And again, you should be so proud of yourself that you have made such progress, and it is
Mm.
hard when you come out of something that intense. You have to heal for quite some time and get
Oh, yeah.
to a point of you're functioning normally. I've experienced that as well. Um, and so we have talked about that. I think one of the first times we talked about doing the hard work and
Yes. Yeah.
committing to the hard work of taking an honest look at what are the things that are, like you said, killing you. Because
Yes.
another, personal thing I'll share is my mother was a wonderful, hardworking woman, but she put so many people before herself and
Mhm.
pushed forward, pushed through, and she did pass away. And, you know,
Mm.
that is unfortunate, but it's a huge lesson for me and for my son and for, the life and future to come to really take that as a sign, a huge, like you said, a huge glaring sign that that I need to change and look and do the things that are healthy and
Yes.
most important for not only to survive but to thrive, right? So do you want to
Exactly.
speak to some of that really hard work that
Yes.
requires?
Yes. Man, I'll tell you. So, I would say I just wanna so one thing I wanna share is that feeling the things that I had been running from. So leading up to going into the crisis center, I would get up out of bed and I would go and I would try to make food or something. And then I would have what felt like this tidal wave of energy that would crash over me. And it would feel so overwhelming. And I was so afraid of what that energy was that I would just try to shove it back down and I would just go lay back down in bed. Now,
Uh,
after leaving the crisis center, what I started when I really decided, okay, I'm actually going to face and I'm going to meet the things that have been stopping me. And I realized that those tidal waves of energy were things like grief and
yes,
heartbreak
yes.
and shame, all of these things. And I was so afraid of feeling because I felt out of control. When I was
Uh,
feeling it, I was like, right? I'm like, "Oh my god, if I feel this, am I ever gonna be able to get out of it? Am I ever gonna be able to come back?" And what
mm,
I learned was that that is I would say one of the number one things that you can do to start building trust back in yourself is feeling the things that you've been running from. Because as I sat there and as I let the energy move all the way through me without stopping it actually left me and exited me, and then it built trust in myself that, "Oh my gosh, I can handle this." And then it
yeah,
would just each time there would be a wave, instead of tightening and having so much fear and just thinking like, "Oh my god, I'm having a heart attack or something terrible is happening," and
yeah.
just let the energy move, I just slowly started releasing things that had been buried for decades.
Wow, that's incredible. And um I think maybe it's important to mention, like, what that actually can look like for people. I think it can be in a lot of forms of
Mhm.
releasing, but something I think pretty much everyone can relate to is that fear. like, I think from birth, from childhood, we have fears that are kind of conditioned into us, and we don't
Uh-huh.
even realize that we're holding things together because of fear of facing the more intense, you know, emotions or situations in life. And, I am speaking from, losing both of my parents in the past year and a half, the intense grief. And I decided to feel that. And, you know, having my first child, having a huge career shift from corporate, getting laid off, moving into my own business. And it's scary when you don't have the same support system, when it seems like you can't win and where do I go? Um, but just I feel like I'm finally, now we've recently spoken about that. Now I'm finally starting to feel lighter, this light
Right.
chapter of light coming from the darkness into the light, because I spent
Yeah.
time feeling and processing and healing. And I
Yeah.
think you've done the same. So, for someone who doesn't really understand what that looks like, what are some examples of how you let out those intense emotions? Like, I'm myself, like, felt some anger and punched a pillow, or, so, like crying in the car. What, what would you say to someone who maybe struggling with how to even let that out?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the first thing, so with anger, one thing that's helped me is by pushing my hands up against a wall. So, um,
Oh.
like you, right? Like if you imagine this is the wall here, and either have shoes on or take your socks off, right? So you have sturdy footing. And then what I would do when I would find these really intense waves of rage, of anger, I would
Mhm.
push into the wall. Keep breathing though, make sure you're breathing, and I would push into the wall as hard as I could for, like, 8 to 10 seconds, and then I would relax, and I would
Okay.
instantly start feeling a shift happening. I would start yawning, I would start like, my body felt start letting go, and sometimes I would do this, like, 5, 10 times throughout a day or even more, but it was a way for the energy to really, again, related to anger or rage, to really be able to move through me in like a safe, contained way. And I
Yes.
know that of course, there's also things like you're saying, punching the pillow, which I have definitely done. Um, Sometimes people will be like screaming and yelling, but it's like as you get to know your body, you're gonna find what feels right in that moment, because not every time you feel anger or rage is it going to be appropriate or really um the best thing you can do to do that. So that's what the importance of having that connection with your body, where your body's like, I do just want to let out a scream, or I want to growl, or no, let's go push up against the wall or punch a pillow. You want to be in that partnership so that you're actually meeting your body in a way that it's asking to be met.
Yes. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna actually try the wall thing because I haven't done that yet. That is a really good
That's
idea. In
powerful.
term This doesn't have to do with releasing rage, but just, shifting your energy from, like, starting within your body, and then having things naturally move from there. Ever since I started working with you, we realized, for me, because I used to dance for years, and I love
Mhm.
dancing more than anything. I love music. And I had been so tense in my shoulders and neck. And I'm like, oh, I don't have great, like you said, like, I don't have great posture on the computer. Maybe that's it. But I would, after dropping off my son in the morning, I would just like immediately go to the laptop and just like be like intensely trying to catch up on what do I need to do today. And that was the energy I started every day. And
Yeah.
so with you, we said, well, why don't I start with kind of like a non negotiable that I dance for at least a few minutes every morning. I put on some music of choice, upbeat, whatever I'm feeling, and
Yes.
move. And ever since I've started doing that, I have started the day with inspiration, with ideas, with a better vibe, with
Yes.
just a better sense of myself and reconnecting with my body and myself from that place. So that's just one way that I have tapped into, like, physically releasing emotions on a daily basis.
Yeah, and that's so powerful because really it's when we realize that what the outer is just gonna mirror the inner. So if we're coming from that urgency, which I did the majority of my life,
Yep.
urgency, over efforting, over giving, people pleasing, all of that, when we're coming from that place and that's what we're putting out there, we're just gonna keep getting that mirrored back to us. We
Yeah.
can't create abundance from that place. So when
Mhm.
we shift that internally, we then become we're the point of attraction. So as that energy shifts within us, we then are able to bring in and draw in those different opportunities that are going to be a match for abundance or the we're becoming magnetic.
Yes, I have that's been my goal, and you have drastically helped me realize that, and it's kind of like manifesting in a way, right? It's being the energy you want to get from the universe.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
exuding what you want your future to look like, and coming
Yes.
from that place, and that's when things just fall into place, and forcing it just
Right.
never gets you forward.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's like being the energy in the same time being detached from how it shows up, from being detached who it's with or who says yes or who says no, but just knowing, just staying in like a really clean place with that energy, just knowing, okay, this is what I say to myself, like whatever's the highest aligned path forward. I'm going to continue to just align my energy. And then I'm going to have people that opt out of my experience of whatever it is that I'm creating, and that's okay. And then I'm gonna
Yeah.
have people that opt in because but the more me that I give myself permission to be, the more free I am, the more magnetic I am to the right people.
Yes, and I mean, I why I love this so much is because it's so in sync and aligned with what I'm all about with my business own person, and this podcast is really
Yes.
all about understanding and remembering who you really are and tapping back into that, and not only finding it, but then bringing it out, and, in such an authentic way that only you can share, and it's unique, and it people are attracted to you, to your authenticity and your unique energy. And
Yes.
once you realize that, you gain so much confidence, not only in, your personal brand and social media messaging, but in how you carry yourself, how you speak to people, how you connect. It just deepens. And I've really been experiencing that.
It's amazing because you're no longer trying to get people to do something. You're no longer trying to get approval from them so that you feel good about yourself. You're coming from a place, I feel good about myself. So I know if this person is a no, that's okay. I don't
Yeah.
and then that level of freedom and that level of peace then allows me to be myself. It allows everyone else to be themselves and then just see, okay, who aligns with me?
Yeah. And then it's our true fit. It's not forced.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
this is how it's
Yes.
supposed to feel.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the coolest thing ever, and I am seeing more and more when I actually go and log on to LinkedIn, and I'm seeing more and more individuals, just in terms of business, especially women, sharing and being more bold in, "You know what? I'm moving away from the life that people say I should have, and I'm doing it my way. I'm
Yes.
choosing to, create my own freedom, my own destiny with all of my gifts and capabilities that I already have, and I don't need to answer to anyone else. And so, I decided that having my own business and helping other women that are building businesses of their own and brands of their own, that is just so empowering because I think, and now I'm just seeing more and more people adopting that because um, at the end of the day, like you said, if it's a place that you genuinely don't feel like is um, acknowledging your truth and
Mhm.
what you care about, where you want to go, and who you really are, then it's going to cause you to feel like all the things we were talking about. You're going to be suppressing your, um, what makes you you, and that would just negatively affect your overall wellness at the end of the day.
It's a huge impact. It's a huge impact. It's like, and it's not always, it's like in these little, sometimes it's even in these little micro decisions that we're making every single day
Yeah.
where we're abandoning ourselves again, even in the slightest little way. But I've gotten to a place again of doing this where I am no longer willing to abandon myself. And if that means that losing people in my life, losing be it business, whatever it means, I am going to be my truest, authentic self because I know I've lived decades of doing the opposite. And
Yep.
all it did was bring pain and suffering. So it's like, okay, we're not going to do that anymore.
Nope.
Um, we're going to, but here's the thing is that I had to grow my capacity to feel the discomfort of disappointing people. I had to
Mm,
grow my capacity of feeling the discomfort of having challenging conversations where people were not happy with the choices I was making. But
mhm.
instead of collapsing and then using that to go back of like, let me renege on what I just said and go back and this, it's you gotta be able to hold, and that's why the nervous system work is so important because it's going to feel uncomfortable. There are gonna be times that it feels like you're going against yourself sometimes
Yeah.
when you're standing up for your truth, when people are upset with you or don't agree with you. But
Yeah.
when you can hold that, changes the whole game.
That is a huge point right there, and I think that's, like, the core of it all, and it comes back to our topic, self-trust, right? And so what you said is you've gotten to the point where you are not compromising yourself, and you
Yeah.
trust that you are making those decisions for a reason, and it's the right decision for you, and you're not worried about people pleasing anymore. So,
Yes.
when you were able to get to that point, and, for anyone listening, what do you think helps you create that sense of self-trust where you're just at the point where you follow that intuition no matter what, and you feel so safe knowing that that's your compass?
Honestly, I think it's been the significant amount of pain and suffering that I've experienced doing the opposite of that.
Yes.
And getting to a place where I drew a line, I drew a line in the sand and I said, I'm no longer willing to live my life from this place anymore. And it was like something. Again, it wasn't like all of a sudden overnight. It's been a gradual progression of, the nervous system work. It's more like turning a dial. You're not flipping a switch. You're not all of a sudden, oh, I'm never in fight or flight again, or I'm never people pleasing. Like it's turning a dial. And the more we turn the dial, each time we make that choice that is really true, we build that layer of self trust. Like Brene
Mhm.
Brown says, you put marbles in a jar. I don't know if you've ever heard her talk about this where it's talking about trust. And I can't remember if she originally said that, but every time we actually honor ourselves, it's like we're putting marbles in a jar. And every time we don't honor ourselves, we're taking marbles out of the jar. So at the
Mm.
end of the day, do you have more marbles in the jar or out of the jar? Right. And that's
Yeah.
going to say that marbles in the jar is just going to, that's where we build our trust from. And then that's what sets the foundation from us to be able to hold that energy of making those sometimes really hard decisions that disappoint people that we truly love and care about, but that just are not our truth anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, because like you said, you've gone through different phases of learning this, and what was my truth 5 years ago is no longer my truth right
Yes.
now. And so
Yeah.
that changes, and then
Yeah.
relationships may shift, the way you're working may change, the way you function and move through daily life will likely change, the things you are prioritizing. Um, so just getting clearer and clearer as you build that self-trust on what that looks like for you right now with who you are right now, and then just sticking
Yeah.
to that as you continue to evolve, because we do continue to evolve all the time.
Absolutely. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I could talk about this for like 5 hours or
I
more,
know,
but
right?
Thank you. This has been
Talk
a
all day.
wonderful conversation, and I
Yeah.
always love talking to you. Just to wrap it up, where can anyone find you online, in person? I know you do a lot of speaking opportunities. If there's anything coming up, please share.
Yes, absolutely. So on Instagram, you can find me at Colleen Norris Wellness, as in Chuck Norris, Colleen Norris, two L's, two E's. And and then my website is ColleenNorrisWellness.com. I also, so my practice, my office is located in Salisbury, Massachusetts. And I have people even drive up to an hour to come to my office. So if you're not right in Salisbury or Newburyport, it's okay. I have people travel because what I offer is very unique. So
Hmm.
again, if this is calling to you, I encourage you, you can go to my website. You can book a complimentary consultation to explore if it's a good fit. I also do something called aligned path activations, where I'm accessing your Akashic records, which is an energetic database that every soul has. And I'm helping you to realign to the energies that you were originated from. Because when we realign to those energies, everything starts to line up and we become more abundant.
Hmm.
And in that session that I can do virtually or in person, the second part of that reading is looking at what are the things that have been blocking you from that highest path forward, and then we do a healing. And then lastly, I'll say, I am doing a Heal the Mother Wound half-day retreat. So the one in June, I know, I'm so excited. The one
I'm
in June
excited.
is totally full, but we added a date in September. So Saturday, September 19th from 1 to 5 in Topsfield, Mass. It's a combination of doing work with horses on the ground. So helping see horses mirror back to us patterns
Mm.
and things that we don't see on our own. That's
Ugh,
the first 2
cannot
hours.
wait.
I know, I can't wait to. And then the second 2 hours is we're gonna do some nervous system work. So depending on what came up with the horses, we'll then take it deeper. We're doing some nervous system rewiring around, again, trust, where our trust and safety lies. And
Mhm.
many people did not originally get that from their mother. Not no blame or shame there to the moms.
Yeah.
They're doing the best. I'm a mom, I'm doing the best I can. And it then also can leave spaces open where then we can do more of that work and show up for ourselves in a way that others couldn't.
Yes. So, so important. I am thrilled that I will be at the June session and I cannot wait. It'll be probably life changing. So, looking forward to that.
Mhm.
But thank you again for the conversation. Such important stuff. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow for our appointment.
Thank you so much. I loved our conversation, and yes, we could talk for hours.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye.